Well, in case you haven't already realised it, the radical left and their associated political parties want to tear down marriage and family. It's a Marxist utopia that requires a destruction of the traditional family unit, promotion of abortion, undermining of parents, and the abandonment of traditional values, and attacking anything that even sniffs of Christianity and biblical truth. That is public enemy number one to them. And that's becoming more and more evident by the day. Let's check out some recent examples. So I received the latest newsletter from the Coalition for Marriage based in the UK, and I recently did an interview with them. And it says this: an orchestrated campaign to silence Christian teaching on marriage is well underway in the UK, led by secularist groups like the National Secular Society. Just last week, activists reported Speak Baptist Church in Liverpool to the Charity Commission for a sermon delivered 9 years ago. Pastor Steve Casey had simply taught biblical views on marriage, pointing out that many people don't feel any peace about laws permitting same-sex marriage. And from the same article in the Liverpool Echo, it says, in the sermon, Mr. Casey referred to sexual brokenness and read Bible passages which appeared to describe homosexuality as a sin. He said that accepting a liberal attitude towards homosexuality was in contrast to the Bible's messages and encouraged those listening to reject such a view, adding, you choose to suffer, you choose to sin. Regarding the nature of the sermon, the church told the Echo in a statement, like all Bible-believing churches, Speak Baptist Church teaches the historic Christian position on gender and sexuality which churches have believed for 2,000 years. These convictions are held by thousands of churches across the country through our shared hope that the love of Jesus welcomes all who want to come to him. So that's from the main newspaper there, the Liverpool Echo. But back to the Coalition for Marriage and their newsletter, and another example. Cardiff Free Presbyterian Church in Northern Ireland was reported for a sermon entitled The Myth of Gay Marriage, which affirmed long-standing Christian teaching. And in it, he said that same-sex marriage opens the floodgates, and he asked, could a man get married to his dog or his donkey? Why not? Well, I'll just leave this here, a pony, and this one, a dog, and this one, a cow. Oh, and yeah, this one, a dog. So plenty of examples to show what happens when you mess with the definition of marriage. And then another example. Likewise, Tabor Baptist Church in Wales faced investigation simply for preaching traditional marriage doctrine. Now, this all comes at the same time as the current attacks coinciding with a major symbolic shift witnessed recently within the Church of Wales, which last week appointed its first openly lesbian archbishop. This troubling development emphasises just how far institutional attitudes to marriage have shifted away from historic positions. Echoing the original Gay Liberation Front manifesto's aim of abolition of the family, the NSS, so that's the National Secular Society, openly seeks to strip churches that proclaim traditional views about marriage and sexuality of their charitable status. Such actions are a direct assault not just on Christian doctrine, but on marriage itself and our fundamental freedoms. But look, we already knew this, and it was with the Black Lives Matter movement. According to Yahoo News, they said the official Black Lives Matter website no longer includes languages, including the disruption of the Western prescribed nuclear family structure. The language had been featured on the site's What We Believe page, in which the group had laid out its support for various extreme policies and ideals that went beyond police reform and brutality. And it specifically said, we disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family structure requirement by supporting each other as extended families and villages that collectively care for one another, especially our children, to the degree that mothers, parents, and children are comfortable. We foster a queer affirming network. When we gather, we do so with the intention of freeing ourselves from the tight grip of heteronormative thinking, or rather the belief that all in the world are heterosexual. Now, as the Heritage Foundation in the United States rightly points out, Marxism wants to dismantle Western society. Marxism posits that the family unit is a hierarchy that undergirds capitalism, and tearing down capitalism therefore requires breaking up its foundation, the family. And they say the data is clear. Children, especially black children raised in two-parent households, are better off. Black Lives Matter and those parroting its claims would be well served to reconsider their call to dismantle the most effective anti-poverty program that African Americans, and all other people for that matter, have ever known. No one will solve America's race problems or any other social problem by attacking the family. Strong families and communities are the foundation stones of every healthy, living society. But that's exactly why Black Lives Matter doesn't like them. Despite the rhetoric about quashing white supremacy, BLM's ultimate goal is to create a new world order, a Marxist utopia that requires the destruction of the traditional family unit and the abandonment of traditional family American values, or family values, in fact. Which leads me on to the latest evidence of the radical left and their agenda. And according to a report in the Post-Millennial, it says, the Democratic Socialists of America recently published a panel discussion from its annual Socialism Conference that featured open calls for the abolition of the nuclear family and traditional family structure in the US. The panel, titled The Left and the Family, a roundtable, took place on July 4th and was part of Socialism Conference in Chicago. They wrote that the nuclear family is an inherently repressive, racist, and heterosexist institution that functionally reinforces and reproduces capitalism. Speakers, they had a New York City for abortion rights speaker, they had a University of Chicago academic, sociologist, University of Chicago, another person, and an activist and member of this Democratic Socialists of America. And they said, throughout the discussion, panelists linked capitalism and the nuclear family, or the natural family, mum, dad, and the kids, calling both oppressive systems in need of transformation. In fact, here's the advertisement for it. How should the left relate to the family? Socialist analysis makes clear that the nuclear family form is an inherently repressive, racist, and heterosexist institution that functionally reinforces and reproduces capitalism. But what does this mean for our organising, especially when the family form remains a potent organising structure for many everyday people, and when the right constantly positions itself as a party of family values? Is it a politics of family abolition in tension with a leftist family agenda and focused on policies like universal preschool, child tax credits, and more? Now, I want to show you a summary of what they said, and listen out for these words of wisdom. The only real difference between marriage and prostitution is the price and the duration of the contract. Sex work and marriage can't exist without each other. They're two sides of the same coin. We argue for abolition of the family in general. The institution of the family acts as part of a carceral system. When we talk about family abolition, we're talking about the abolition of the economic unit, all of our material needs taken care of by the collective. And in this clip, note that they're all still wearing masks. That's part of the abolition of sanity in their cases. So have a watch of this short summary.
The only real difference between marriage and prostitution is the price and the duration of the contract.
We can fight for family abolition, we can imagine family abolition because we have seen Black women do it, because we have seen these indigenous communities do it.
But to me it is the institution of marriage can only exist alongside the criminalization of sex workers.
Children whose parents are unable to provide either housing, food, or safety are treated as if they have committed a crime. So kids themselves are treated as if they have committed a crime if they're not born into a family that can support them.
In addition to abolition of family policing, you argue for abolition of the family in general, and say that the institution of the family acts as part of the carceral system in the way that it reinforces children as property.
I think the left is constantly surprised at how few people are, ready for revolt, despite, the extremely dire conditions that we are in that keep becoming more and more dire every day.
Women and children are the most harmed by capitalism, but also women and children are the architects of their fate.
So when we talk about family abolition, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the abolition of that economic unit. For me, that liberatory horizon is to say it is a horizon in which kinship and care are, in which all of our material needs are taken care of by the collective.
Sex work, the criminalization of sex work is like the dark underbelly of the sanctified, reified, and legally like enforced institution of exchanging your bodily autonomy and your sexuality for economic security. I don't think one can exist without the other.
Yeah, okay. And I did put the subtitles in that just because you might have found it a little bit difficult to hear what they're saying, probably because you didn't want to hear what they were saying. In fact, during a Q&A session, one self-identified Baptist minister from Austin, Texas, told the panel he wants to perform abortions at a church as part of the revolutionary horizon.
Hey all, I'm Andrew from Austin, DSA. This has been so fascinating. My mind is everywhere, but I wanted to hear more about Portland DSA's maybe kind of internal practices. In Austin DSA, we've tried to implement a socialist sprouts program and incentivize and encourage parents to come to our meetings after hours. It's ebbed and flowed. And also would like to hear about general strategies. I'm also a Baptist minister, whole other story. And on that revolutionary horizon, want to perform abortions in a church, but before it's all said and done. But how has it been organizing, especially with the cadre members of, the Portland City Council or County Commissioners Court, like faith communities, like Christian communities, Islam, how has it been kind of organizing and providing this vision of families and children and advancing the cause that way?
Socialist sprouts, I love that. It's a little bit cuter.
Yeah, vision of children. He says, I don't know if you heard it, I'm also a Baptist minister. I want to perform abortions at a church before it's all said and done. Now, hopefully he's been sacked and excommunicated. And just one more, there was this rant about Christian fundamentalist tyrants and state care. Although, interestingly, children of Christian married parents are least likely to be in state care. But don't let the facts get in the way of their rants.
So in each of these institutions, children are legally the property of their guardians. And because children don't have rights as individuals, but only in relation to their parents, they essentially only have the rights given to them by whomever their parents happen to be. So if you were born into a home headed by a Christian fundamentalist tyrant, for instance, you have the rights that that Christian fundamentalist tyrant gives you. If you think about that on the scale of all the children who are going to become wards of the state under the fundamentalist tyrant that we have now, just consider what that means for those children. And at any given time, there are 450,000 children in the US who are in foster care. That might seem like a small number, but think about all the families that are connected to that child and separated.
Yes, the Christian fundamentalist tyrants. Wow. Look, here's the important thing to remember. This kind of whack job viewpoint will be present in New Zealand. In fact, I can think of one particular left-wing political party of a certain colour that will have MPs with this kind of warped thinking, which is why they support radical groups like the AIDS Foundation, now the Burnett Foundation, and Inside Out, and family planning, now sexual wellbeing, Aotearoa, or some smokescreen name, and why they also want to defund the police and do away with prisons. And they only want to talk about marriage when they want to redefine it to be meaningless. The moral of the story is that as we approach the next election next year, and every election, ask candidates what their view is of marriage, family, the role of parents, and whether these should be promoted, what their view of abortion and prostitution and other destructive things are. You'll quickly find out their worldview, and you should do everything within your power and influence to make sure they have no role in making public policy. The reason they call us far right is because so far we have been right and will continue to be so.